I, 34 male, have been married to my wife, 32, for 5 years, and we have 3 children. A few months ago, I found out from my wife's text that she had been cheating on me. I confronted her about it, she confessed to it, and gave me an entire breakdown of the affair, which had lasted for a month. I was devastated and asked her why. She gave no excuses for it and said she had caught feelings for her affair partner, which was wrong, and she had acted on them. He was her coworker. I asked her if I lacked anything, and she said no, and she was in tears. I needed a few days to process this. My wife gave me space, but she asked me many times to reconsider divorce because it would uproot the lives of our children. She said she'd do anything I wanted for the rest of my life. After a week, I decided that I needed only one thing from my wife to completely forgive her, and that was to call each and every one of her friends and family to confess her affair. I told her that was my only condition. She was hesitant and asked me if I could reconsider the condition because this would ruin many of her friendships and family relationships. Still, I told her this was what I needed as a part of my forgiveness process, and that if she didn't do this, I was going to start looking for a divorce lawyer. Over the next week, my wife made a phone call to all of her friends, parents, grandparents, siblings, uncles, aunts, pretty much anyone she knew, and confessed to her affair. It was hurtful, and there was a lot of crying. My wife was hurled with a lot of shouting. By the week's end, my wife had called everyone I wanted her to call. It's been a few months, and my wife and I have a strong relationship now. However, my wife has pretty much become isolated from her friends and a lot of her family. This has hurt her a lot, and she spends a lot of nights crying, but she says this was worth it for our relationship and for our children. Am I the idiot for making my wife confess to all her friends and family that she cheated on me if she didn't want a divorce? To save the marriage, I had to destroy it. Truth is essential, but there's no way this level of public disclosure helps anything. The marriage won't last. You are the idiot. Even if it didn't last, he made sure that her family and friends knew she was a cheat. Doesn't matter what happens next. Everyone important to her now knows not to trust her because she broke the trust in her marriage. Sounds like a win for OP either way. He's not the idiot. Win? LOL. There are no winners here. His wife cheated. His wife is now depressed, with no friends or family. Everyone knows she cheated, and he's an idiot. She broke his trust. He broke her completely. There is no win for OP. Just one messed up family with no trust or proper love to grow their children in. What a hot mess. Poor children. Yes, exactly. I find it more embarrassing for him that he made her call everyone and tell them, thinking that would add something positive to the outcome. That was done as punishment to ensure that other people dished the punishment that he didn't have the backbone to dish. That was just the beginning of the end. OP, I feel like that's embarrassing for you too. You stayed with a cheating spouse. Everyone's the idiot. I hate cheaters, but I don't understand what you're trying to do here. I guarantee you your relationship is not stronger than ever. The public humiliation you put her through will stay with her until she explodes. I just don't know what you're trying to do here. Relationship stronger than ever, but she cries at night. OP has a dent in his skull. Honestly, I don't understand how this helped you forgive her. Did you want to see her suffer, or know that ultimately there were actions to her consequences? You've ruined her relationship with her friends and family when I doubt it helped you forgive. She's now effectively on her own. She didn't cheat on those individuals. She cheated on you. You've invited others into your relationship with this condition, and as a result, you both look incredibly foolish. I know marriages that seem to last out of spite. Maybe this will be one of those. My daughter Rose, 19, was always a smart girl. She did well in school and got a full ride to a great local school. She's been living with me and going to school and is doing well in school. A few months ago, she got this new boyfriend, who I don't like. I can smell the BS. He constantly lets her down, but covers it up with a big smile and grand promises. Despite my warnings they're still dating, and now she's pregnant. I offered to pay for the termination and take a few days off work to take her and help her recover. She said no. She will marry her boyfriend, and there'll be one big happy family. He wants to move into my house, and she'll drop out of school while he works to support them. He's a bartender who doesn't go to college. I laughed at this idea, which made her mad. She told me that since he can't move in, I'll need to step up and help with the baby more. Y'all, she's always been a very sensible child. I don't know where all this has come from. I told her that if she thinks she's grown enough to have and raise a child and get married, she needs to move out soon and manage to be an adult with the child's father. I raised the one child I wanted. I do not want any more children living in my home. I told her I'd pay for diapers here and there, and I'd still visit her. But this baby is 0% my responsibility. If she chooses adoption, which I'm pretty sure she wouldn't, I'd be willing to help her navigate that. She won't talk to me. My husband, her stepdad, is staying out of this, but thinks I could help more. I told him he was welcome to go over and babysit for her, which shut him up. Am I the idiot? Edit. I had my daughter when I was 19. I was married to her father, who was in the military. I still graduated from college on time at the age of 22, and everything worked out well for us until he died in service. The fact that it worked out okay for me is clouding my daughter's judgment, I think. Her trashy boyfriend can't even offer her or her child health insurance. It's an entirely different scenario. Also, I won't let her live with me and keep the baby. This is not happening. I do not want a baby in my home, period. And I'm not babysitting either. I'll do normal grandparent stuff, like show up to birthday parties and buy gifts occasionally. But that's it. Wow. Oh, to be 19 and have grand plans about how everyone around her must step up. She wants to live at your house, and then you will step up. Dearie me, a wake-up call is incoming. You are not the idiot. You didn't consent to be part of her big happy family. I hope she comes to her senses and figures out a way to stay in school. A college dropout teen mom and bartender aren't a combination with a high chance of financial stability in the future. I have a friend who was in the same situation with her daughter about 16 years ago. They let her stay but told her it was the one and only time and set all sorts of parameters. Now 16 years later, that same daughter and her now 5 kids still live with them. They've put them out several times to try to make it on their own, but it breaks their hearts to see the kids not clean or fed right. The kids always beg to come back. It's an awful situation. A similar story about a friend who gave an inch. The daughter took a mile because she manipulated them. 3 marriages and 3 kids later, none of the kids from marriages. She finally lives on her own, but it's funded by my friend and her husband. They became total pushovers. My friend and her husband spent all their free time and vacation time looking after these kids and have spent all of their retirement funds. Well done, OP. You'll probably end up like my friend if you give in to their manipulation. He wants to move into my house. My suspicious mind wonders if this is the whole point of the pregnancy, to improve his living standards. He thought he was snagging a meal ticket. I'm guessing your daughter's a bit sheltered. Be careful going too hard. Hopefully, he disappears when he realizes he doesn't have a free ride for knocking up your daughter. A few days ago, my ex-husband mistakenly transferred 2 payments of $8,700 and $92.75. He did this at around 7:40 a.m., and I didn't notice because I worked the night shift and was getting ready for bed, so my phone was charging on the nightstand. At the same time, my 4 children were with my parents, so I planned to sleep away half the day. He realized his mistake around 8:30 a.m., and by then I was dead asleep. I woke up at around 4 p.m. to at least 100 missed calls and maybe 150 texts asking and begging me to send him the money back. My initial thoughts were to send it back, but then I remembered he owed me $12,000 and hasn't paid me back since I lent it to him 4 years ago, and he's had a million excuses why he can't pay me back, and yet I always see him living it up. I kept the amount he owed me returned only $59.75, and told him I had deducted his debt. Since then, I've had him call me every name in the book, because this was apparently money he was saving to buy his girlfriend an engagement ring, the engagement venue, etc. So, according to him, he had to tell her. This led to it ruining the surprise engagement he'd planned for the next weekend. His girlfriend has been bad-mouthing me, and it's caused a bit of a crap storm, with me having to shut down my social media. Even his parents, who I had a cordial relationship with, have been impacted by it. I discussed this situation with a friend and colleague, and it was overheard by another colleague. He called what I made an idiot move, and I guess he shared it with a couple of other people. And now I'm not too sure anymore on whether I am being an idiot or not. Is this an idiot move? Edit. The money was loaned to him after our divorce. We've been divorced for 7 years, and I loaned him the money 4 years ago after he lost his job and fell behind on his bills and rent. This has nothing to do with his child support payments, which he's also behind on, which are being handled by the family court/the child support company. There were texts of him asking for a loan, and it included a repayment plan and time, but he never stuck to it, so there's a legal trail if he decides to involve the law. Still, I doubt he would, because it would cost way more to sue me, and I would have won in court since I only deducted his debt from me. Yes, he is the father of our 4 kids. I could have sued him for the debt, but hiring a lawyer could cost me way more. Suing someone isn't cheap. Lawyers cost real money, and a lawsuit takes real time. He has owed you $12,000 for 4 years. His priority should have been clearing his debt and saving for an engagement ring, especially when he clearly had the money. Also, surely he can find an engagement ring for $6,000. Not the idiot. You only kept what you were owed. Tell everyone who says that you're wrong that if he can afford a venue, he can afford to pay back his debt to the mother of his children. His new fiancée should be pleased to find out his true nature before the wedding. You did her a favor, letting her know that he won't repay his debts unless forced to do so. His bad luck on the mistake, but good for you and your kids. Good God, that's the one thing I don't get. Making an engagement an event. It's like those idiotic gender reveal parties. This dude has no business dropping almost $18,000 on his girlfriend when he's not upholding his commitments to his former wife and children. My wife, 30, and I, 42, have 2 children, a male teen and a female toddler. I met my wife when she was a student in a trades program I used to teach at. She was 20 and working her butt off to support herself and her son. I helped her with her studies, and when she left school, I wished her well. She returned for her 2nd and then 3rd year of instruction. I literally watched her go from someone who was just barely an adult to a truly competent tradesperson. I helped her get a job with a company that trusts me to give recommendations for employees who have a future. She came back to see me when she got her white hat. That means she was given a foreman position. She came by to thank me for the help. I told her that she did everything herself, and all I did was point her in the right direction. We went for coffee, though, then a couple of lunches, then dinner, and so on. We got married about a year later. About 2 years after that, our daughter was born. She returned to work, and I took a job with the company as a QC. There is a lot of backstory, but it's relevant. My ex-wife is my mom and dad's favorite person. They like her more than they like me. Even after she divorced me because I stuck with teaching instead of making bank in the field, I've seen hundreds of relationships fall apart in my trade because the guy's never home. I'm the only guy I know in the trades whose wife left him because he was home too much. She divorced me 3 years before I met my wife, but my parents still invite her for family stuff. She ended up marrying a teacher like herself, and they seem happy. Maybe it was just me she didn't want to be around. We had no kids together. So my dad retired from his big deal job, and my mom had a big party for him. She said it would be boring when she invited me, and I didn't need to bring my son. She's known him since he was a tween, and it still bugs her that he's not biologically mine. I asked if my nieces and nephews were coming, and she said yes. I asked if my daughter was invited, and she said yes. I said I'd talk to my wife about it and let her know. I didn't bother. Anywhere my kid is not welcome, I'm not going to go. I took my family to Legoland that weekend instead. My son loves Lego, and my daughter loves the bright colors. My mom was angry that we didn't go. She told everyone I chose to spoil my kids instead of celebrating my father with family. I told my brothers, sisters, and dad that she tried to convince me not to bring my son. They all lost it on her. Now she's crying because everyone is mad at her for excluding my son and causing me to skip my dad's party. I would have kept my mouth shut if she had kept my name out of her mouth. My family, including my dad, have accepted my son into the family. My mom's the only one that has a problem with me adopting him. She's still mad that I didn't make it work with my ex. I didn't just show up with my entire family or tell everyone ahead of time why I wouldn't be there because I didn't want a scene at my dad's party. I would rather be the inconsiderate jerk who goes on vacation than wreck a family event. I also didn't want to expose my son to my mom and her passive-aggressive BS. She thinks that I was mean for exposing her. I just wanted a nice, stress-free weekend with my family. Not the idiot. If she felt her reasoning for excluding your son was reasonable and justified, then what's the problem with telling the other members of the family? She's upset because she knows she was in the wrong and got busted. You did the right thing. I too would have preferred to go to Legoland rather than an uncomfortable family situation where you don't feel welcome. It so clearly was not about not having people's kids at the party. It was just about excluding him because he's not blood. And if I'm reading between the lines correctly, probably also a healthy helping of moral shame for divorcing your former wife and marrying a new woman who had a kid so young. No kid deserves to be treated this way, especially not a teenager, when things are already so hard emotionally. You did the right thing. Side note, if it were me, I'd be keeping both kids away from her from now on. She doesn't get to pick and choose her grandkids, and I wouldn't want to expose either of my children to her passive-aggressive behavior. Also, I'd talk with my wife about how she's been treated at family functions in the past, because I'd be willing to bet there's been a lot of questionable behavior there too.